Based on the presentation that I attended, I thought the most important key point, and I think all of the points in the presentation was important, but I think the one that gravitated towards me closest would have to be the war on drugs and how much of an impact the war on drugs had on mass incarceration and racism and putting people back in jail. And I think about how when slavery was abolished, there was also an exception to the 13 Commandments of unless you were arrested. And I think that that little loophole was taken advantage of extremely, to the point where, people profit off of putting people in prison instead of worrying about putting people in prison to make them better people and putting them back into society. We're worrying about putting people in prison and keeping them in there. And I think when Bush was into office for his declaration on the war on drugs, he did extreme amount of damage, I think even more than Nixon and Reagan, with his 3 strikes you're out, mandatory prison sentences. We're talking about, just all types of things that were just not focused on dealing with how they should have dealt with it. And I think that, during the presentation, when we speak about the war on drugs, I take upon a lot of things that why didn't America treat the drug crisis like a health crisis instead of a crime crisis? I think that was extremely important. But then again, I think that it was done on purpose, and that goes back down to racism, and that goes back down to how can we control a great mass of people and profit off of it, and the labor that these prisoners have to go through for free, the things that we, in me, personally benefit from, not knowing that there's so much bloodshed over it. And I think that the presentation did an amazing job at presenting that. I also think that the book Just Mercy is doing an extreme job. I want to be an attorney, and I've been asking myself over and again what type of attorney I wanted. I know I wanted to do criminal, but did I want to do prosecution? Did I want to do defense? And I think that there's an important role in proximity and being closer to the problem, and getting closer and deeper into people who are in death row and people who are serving life sentences with no parole. You get there and you think that these people are terrible people, but in reality, they might be in there because they had possession of marijuana, but because of the system and because of racism and people not, being fair, they're serving multiple life sentences without parole, while someone else can serve 15 years and come out and get a job and continue their life, and they've committed murder. So I think the presentation was extremely insightful, and I enjoy seeing a lot of different points of views, and I enjoy seeing a lot of my professors, engaged in this conversation, because, it makes me feel important to know that people are taking their time out of the day to present, to educate, and to give insightful ideas during such a big time of crisis.